Hey guys, and welcome to the Bainsainye show. It's your boy Bainsainye and
It's Carmen in the house.
what are you saying, bro?
I'm good, man. I just want to go straight in, man. Listen, yeah, you got to subscribe to the Bainsainye membership. People are missing out. They're complaining. They're like, oh, you know, why are you cutting the episode off this, that, and that? And I said, look, listen, yeah, £4 a month. That's all you need to do. The full episode's there. Extra content. Dirt stuff that Amrit says. Dirt stuff that everyone says. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Like I said, click on the link, 8 episodes a month, 50p an episode. The link is there, Spotify, Patreon. Just plug the thing. Give 1 month. Give it a month, right? And let's see what happens. And then you can cancel any time. Not as if we're going to run away with your money for the year. If you want to do annually, you can do annually. It's up to you. But like I said, if you build this, we'll build this membership and community so big that we have live shows. I'm talking of one-to-ones. I'm talking of
We have a vision.
Amrit visiting your house, for just no reason. You know what I'm saying? We
it.
could even, like, in the future, just buy you phones. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. We can even do giveaways and all of that. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying,
giveaways. You know what I mean? Artworks,
That's it.
left, right. You know what I mean?
bro? I'm not
Anyways,
gonna lie,
yeah.
I'm gonna get straight to the episode.
Yeah.
In the sense of, firstly, I'd like to apologize.
Yeah.
Just in general, if I say anything wrong, if anything left, right, I'm just apologizing. I'm just apologizing.
Okay.
Now, I'm gonna talk through a means of like art architecture, something that is done manually, right?
Okay.
And I'm gonna get your retrospect on this, right?
Right. Make sure it's interesting. Yeah. I know you've done art before, and people go.
I know, but I'm gonna just say this, right?
Okay.
Looking at the whole spectrum of Sikhi art. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Looking
yeah.
at the whole
Sorry,
spectrum of Sikhi art and looking at the history, looking at the way that certain things and art forms are. What's your take on that, bro? Comparing it to other sort of like religious things that you've seen. We're talking solely about art right now.
Yeah, I would say no. It varies. I think some aspects of Sikhi art is accurate. Depictions of warriors and battles and things have happened. But sometimes I do feel that our skin tone's a bit too light as well on the painting. It's an observation. I mean, I'm sure we were a bit more darker.
Correct.
But I don't want to like come across in a discriminative way. It's just this is what I see, and sometimes I think it's interesting. I think a lot of them look similar. That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Is that traditional sort of like everybody knows that there's that photo of the gurus, the Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the Guru Gobind Singh Ji photos that are traditional and all of that, right?
Okay, yeah.
Now, for me, the way that I look at it, I look at history in this whole like big spectrum, and obviously we've got to understand that Sikhism in this time has been quite recent. Now, quite recent. We're talking about times when Sikhism started, around about the times when it was the Renaissance.
Yep.
About Leonardo da Vinci, around that time.
Yeah.
Right? So if we talk about like art throughout that time, it's not been that mad as compared to something like Christianity.
Yeah.
Right? Where Christianity, where it's like you have medieval art, you have all of these, you have like different types of paintings, embroidery, then obviously you have the high Renaissance, which is sort of like dramatic depictions of certain like biblical events, right? Yeah. That's why very famous, like with Michelangelo's what was it, the God touching Adam, or was it, but one of those ones. Yeah. So in the grand scheme of things, Sikhi art is quite, how would you put it, recent, quite fresh, right? And yes, you have those depictions and all of that. The way that Sikhi art sort of started off was from the art from during the Mughals.
Okay.
Right? There's a bit of Tanjore art, probably pronouncing that wrong, but it starts off from there. And sort of like Mughal art, sort of like the Mughal art, because during that time, it was the Mughals that were in charge. Their art form was crazy. Yeah. It's quite two-dimensional for those people that, just Google it. Just have a look, see what it is. Quite floral, and it's transferred over to times of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Right? Where you go off and you see like floral patterns inspired by Islamic architecture, geometric patterns. It's a lot of influences. And then you come off and you come to the recent era. And for me, it's quite contradictory. It's quite like, it's fresh because obviously different art forms is different art forms. You have different artists doing different things and they're doing amazing stuff. They're creating sort of different depictions, digital art. They're doing a lot of things. But it's like, it's a lot of Sikhi art is repetitive,
Yeah.
where it's the same sort of artist that's depicted a guru or a warrior or whatnot, but in a different form of art.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So there's an artist called Bainsainye, which my views on him is I don't rate him.
Okay.
The reason why is because there's this whole conspiracy where like basically he's used his own body, self-image or whatever, like his own facial features to represent himself as a guru through the means of Guru Gobind Singh Ji and Guru Nanak Dev Ji in his own pieces, which are also quite famous, where a lot of people hang them up and sort of like worship them.
Right.
That's something where it's quite contradictory, quite controversial. But just go and research, have a search, do your Googlings. You know what I mean? You learn a lot of things when you do research like that. So yeah, it's quite interesting in the sense of like, where is the modern shape going? And if we put this in like the whole retrospect, who is the next
Big
Michelangelo for Sikhi? Where does it go? Where's the next boundary? Where do we take Sikhi in terms of art and representation?
I would say, like, I've seen interesting artworks of one Sikh artist who drew Guru Gobind Singh Ji as a emotional, gripping and holding one of his sons, and very emotional. That was the first piece of artwork I've seen. Where Guru Gobind Singh Ji is not warrior type angry, but more of like a father concerned for his children. That kind of art really hit more. But it just comes down to, are we even allowed to depict gurus? Because officially we're not meant to. So what do we draw? Do we draw battles and warriors and keep the like how come we've got pictures of gurus around our house when we're not meant to worship that?
Exactly. And that's the thing, where like
in that sense,
when we have those movies like the Charles Hebzade, you have depictions of the Guruji, but they're still and everything around them is sometimes moving or whatnot, but they are kept as still because it's not them being acted upon or whatever, etc. I know there was this Guru Nanak Dev Ji movie where it was just there was an actor there.
Nanak Shah Fakir, I think it was. I watched it.
Light. It was just light. That person in figure was just light. It was.
But it was still moving, and they had to cancel the movie. Yeah, it had to be redone. I don't know what's happened. But
exactly. So there is complications to that. Yeah. Right. But by all means, but that's still. You can still showcase the warriors and the other stories of Sikhism. It's not that it just ends up from there. Yeah. Right. The Sikhism is something that is quite broad. As a fact, there's a lot of things that go into it. So showcasing and depicting those stories. Now it's like, how do we get to that level? And we've also got to understand the current climate. Now, in terms of what I think as an artist, designer, and whatever you want to call me, it's about the future in terms of VR. Okay. It's in terms of the future of digital art. Okay. It's
but in what sense though? Because when you're doing like art, it has to be within the boundaries of Sikh principles. You can't just draw something like because look, you feel like it has to be respectful.
It has to be respectful, but the thing is, unfortunately, the negative side to all of this of doing Sikhi art or anything like that is that whatever piece you do ends up becoming a WhatsApp Vaisakhi thing. Yeah, it ends up being a Vaisakhi message. Like they could screenshot it, edit it, or whatever, happy Vaisakhi or whatever to your piece and just send it off. Okay. It's happened to me. Yeah, right? And I'm sure it's happened to many other artists as well, right? So it's that thing that you do run into, but it needs to be somewhat of an experience where I feel like artists need to engage with historians, sort of like depict certain things, people who know more about the Sakya, people that know about all of these other things, because if they don't, it gets a bit fantasy. And unfortunately, bro, and this is the thing with the High Renaissance as well, where a lot of people are just like, certain things actually meant to be like that. Because even in the High Renaissance, certain biblical representations have been dramatized, obviously for the effect of art. Because for them, it's like whenever at that time you got to think about it. When they went in, it's basically just watching 4K video. For them at that time, they're like, oh my god, this is like huge, whatever, right? So it's like, how do we go on and how do we push on from here? That's the question that
I think it's about education. You got to, as an artist, anyone drawing needs to understand Sikhi and the history of it. I don't know all about it, but I only vaguely, like bits, but I need to read into it more. And I think that will help you build the artwork that you probably want to depict. And I know there will be people that criticize and there are people saying, but as long as it's respectful in your sense and and you have a message of why you've drawn that. You know, you need to have a reason for it.
Yeah.
You know, if you could, I would say drawing gurus. I think I mean it's fine. It's there for representation. You know,
Yeah.
I've seen it in when you go to Hazur Sahib in Gurdwara. There's a museum there, and it actually shows drawings of gurus, but in Mughal art. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji and with their disciples and follow and people and different people, and it's actually drawn in Mughal drawing. It's very different.
And
yeah,
that's the thing. Call it unfortunate or whatnot, but that is the actual representation of them because it is from that time period.
Yeah.
Right?
It
now,
is.
obviously, you know, the means of like what they knew in terms of like not architectural, sorry, the artistic skills that they had. It was Mughal, because that was the thing that was going on.
Absolutely.
That was the time period of art at that time.
Yeah.
It wasn't Renaissance because that was going on in Italy and Europe. You know what I mean? It's different. So this pushes me onto architecture, but I don't know, is this what are we closing down?
Give one statement about architecture you want to say before we kind of like a little mic drop kind of thing.
I'm gonna just say right now in the Western world that we're in, we are doing the worst job possible in terms of our gurdwara, and we can take this on to a further place.
Okay.
Coming from an architect myself.
Architecture, like a design perspective.
I've got an architecture degree, so I'm stating this: we can do so much more in terms of architecture, in terms of creating and focusing on the communities.
Yeah.
And this is something that we're chatting about in the Patreon. It's something, a personal project that I've been working on for some time. So yeah, if you guys want to listen to it.
Yeah, man. Like I said, £4 a month, but this is generally join the membership, join the community, and you can have access to all the episodes and all the content. So yeah, temporarily we out.